Thank you, Joelle. Firstly, and on behalf of the Tilting Axis core team, I want to extend gratitude to Joelle, Butler, and Sarah Herman, and the partnership they have brought through Curando, Caribe, and to the staff at Centro León and their director, Maria Amalia León, and to Centro Cultural de España and their director, Juan Sanchez, for partnering with us, for hosting us, and for working with us to bring Tilting Axis to the Hispanophone Caribbean. In addition, I'd like to acknowledge the dedication and respectful camaraderie of the TA core team, comprising Holly Bino, Mario Caro, Tobias Ostranda, Natalie Urquhart, and of course, Joelle and Sarah. I'd also like to support and acknowledge those who have supported panels and panelists, including the Davidoff Art Initiative, the National Art Gallery of the Bahamas, the National Gallery of the Cayman Islands, and the Perez Art Museum, Miami. Welcome to all of you who are based here in the Dominican Republic and joining us, to those who have traveled from 28 countries to Santiago, and to our remote viewers across the Caribbean and the diaspora who are joining Tilting Axis 4 virtually, especially to Holly. In my own trajectory as a visual artist, the Dominican Republic has shaped my consciousness as a Caribbean artist, fostering connection to the wider region. In the early 90s, when I returned to Barbados from graduate school, I started moving through the region. In 92, I came to Santo Domingo to show my work at the first biennial of Caribbean and Central America at the Museum of Modern Art, eager to meet my colleagues from the Spanish Caribbean for the first time, including the critic Marianne de Tolentino and peers such as Tony Capian, whose spirit and beautiful smile I recall and whose artwork, The Garden of Eden, is the banner for this year's forum fittingly. Also, I met Sarah and her amazing energy for the first time. I remember her running through the museum when I got there to meet all of us. Lilian Yanes from Cuba, Marcus Laura Reed, Dominique Brebion, Osairo Moyale, and Elvis Lopez, among many other artists who were all getting to know one another. It was a heady moment, much like today, as we began to build a community of artists in our generation outside of our small, developing island states. It seems fitting now to have Tilting Axis in one of the larger Caribbean nations outside of the Anglophone territories where we had met before. For those of you experiencing Tilting Axis for the first time, I'd like to offer a brief context for the forum. Together with my colleague, Holly Bino, I really feel like I've lost my left arm right now because she's not here. We co-founded the Tilting Axis Forum in 2014, and we continue our work with the evolving and growing core team to deepen links between those who are working both in and out of the Caribbean, and to interrogate fundamental critical questions affecting contemporary visual practice and our local, nascent, and burgeoning ecologies, building on the work that has gone before us all. Given that the established global art systems do not fulfill the needs of this region's cultural ecosystems, Tilting Axis is nurturing networks across the archipelago, the global south, and internationally, while positioning debates from within our own context. We recognize the Caribbean as an open, liminal space, central rather than peripheral, and with this gesture, we offer an intimate discursive space to reflect on how we might contribute to a more inclusive and equitable art world, giving voice to those of us who are committed to and care deeply for this Caribbean. As a verb, tilting is a call to action. Each and every one of us is here to actively participate and contribute, and the noun axis refers to a central part in a structure to which other parts are connected, like a hinge. The Caribbean can be seen as an archipelagic hinge, centrally located in the Americas as a historical crossroad connected to many parts of the world. An axis is also an agreement or an alliance between two or more countries that forms a center for an eventual larger grouping of nations. Taken together then, Tilting Axis is a roving meeting, pivoting on a Caribbean axis from which all other coordinates are viewed, understood, and measured, facilitating more and more alliances. The first two-day conference in February 2015 brought together about 35 participants at Fresh Milk in Barbados. It would take up about a quarter of this room. To engage in dialogue from the perspective of artist-led initiatives driving the agenda from within the specificities of the region. In 2016, the Perez Art Museum Miami hosted close to 80 delegates, and it was themed Caribbean Strategies. 2 residencies were awarded to creatives, including scholar Marcia Pierce and artist Blue Curry at Cannonball, that ran alongside the conference. In collaboration with the British Council, we launched the inaugural Tilting Axis Curatorial Fellowship, which was awarded to Nicole Smythe-Johnson from Jamaica. And I'm pleased to say that that fellowship contributed to Nicole's candidacy to a PhD program, and that she will be beginning at University of Texas, Austin, under the mentorship of Dr. Eddie Chambers. I'm also delighted to say that our second curatorial fellowship is in partnership with the University of Texas at Austin's Art Galleries at Black Studies. Lise Ragbeer is here with us and will announce the 2018-2019 fellow tomorrow. In 2017, we partnered with the National Gallery of the Cayman Islands, and we welcomed 80 delegates for the 3rd iteration titled Curating the Caribbean. All of those presentations are available on the Tilting Axis website as video recordings. And this year, we have close to 80 folks joining us, bringing our participants to just under 300 people over the last 4 years. Why is this forum necessary? Our current national and regional frameworks are typically inadequate for the sustainability of the contemporary visual art sector across the wider Caribbean. Tilting Axis is therefore shaped as an expansive space that functions beyond the nation-state, bringing people together to build an active and caring community, especially for those who choose to remain in the Caribbean or for those who consider coming back. For more than 3 centuries, we have been providing raw material to be refined, processed, exported, and marketed extra-regionally. This sometimes includes the arts when creatives decide to migrate to the global north, or when exhibitions are exhibited, written about, promoted outside of the region, creating a chasm between local audiences and the work that's made here. Tilting Axis is about adding value within the Caribbean, as well as nurturing connections with colleagues in the diaspora in mutually beneficial ways. For the next few days, we hope to explore ways in which we might continue to expand the critical arena, ways that are not driven exclusively by the market or external forces out of sync with our own needs. This forum is an intervention beyond the national. Its intention is to be expansive in its thinking and questioning. What do we want and need at this moment? How can we theorize our own work? How can a forum like this contribute to how Caribbean art is taught and understood? How might Tilting Axis be a decolonial force which reinforces our capacity to practice community in a complex and ecologically fragile archipelago? As the core team were planning this 4th iteration, we were ever mindful of the devastation caused by 2 Category 5 hurricanes, Irma and Maria, further demonstrating the vulnerability of a region that sits on the front lines of climate change, on the receiving end of fallout that is rarely of our doing. There are a number of participants here who have been directly affected by the hurricanes in the most extreme ways, and we will be hearing from some of them over the coming days. The program this year has some exciting new components. The bios of all the presenters are available on the Tilting Axis website. Shout out to Kristen Chen, who is doing a beautiful job maintaining our website, normally based in Trinidad. Thank you, Kristen. Each day we'll have a main panel with 3 speakers and a moderator. We'll also have pop-up sessions, which will give us 10-minute insights into projects developed by Caribbean practitioners or those working in the diaspora to update us on what's happening right now. And we have this great new platform called the Sobremesa, which is an informal and relaxed conversation that happens after lunch with a coffee or a drink. We've curated a few duos, and we'll sit back and listen in on these folks, unknown to each other until now, use the art of conversation to explore potential synergies in their various practices as artists, curators, historians, scholars, and directors of culture. And in an effort to make TA as inclusive as possible and ensure a socially oriented dialogue, we include our facilitated Ideas Lab session to unpack and explore all the goodness that has unfolded during the day, allowing us to ruminate and have the opportunity for a closer reading of the ideas and concerns. These will be led by facilitators on the 1st and 2nd day. Tilting Axis is a community of ideas born out of a deep commitment to the Caribbean, and in the spirit of kinship, on behalf of the core team, I'd like to welcome all of you to Tilt the Axis. And just before I close, I'd like to read some words from my colleague and sister, Holly Bino, who is joining us remotely. She's unwell and unfortunately was unable to make the trip, but she's very much here in spirit. She's worked with the entire core team to shape every single component of this program. She is my fellow instigator and very dear friend. So I will try to be as gracious as she would be were she standing here. So from Holly. Good morning, colleagues and friends. As you can all imagine, I'm quite gutted that I cannot be present for this morning's convening, and grateful that Annalee has agreed to impart my very brief comments on my behalf. Under the theme, Caribbean Cultural Ecologies, Past, Presents, and Futures, it was our collective aim to comment on and suggest ways in which we can look at the healing of our fractured archipelago. This congregation and the growth of Tilting Axis over the last 4 years is a testament to the need for deliberate forums that contain a certain kind of truth-telling, knowledge exchange, and practical advancements that would in turn shift the way we're thinking about your methods, ideologies, values, and goals within our various silos. To do this is no easy feat, as I know we work under constraints that are often parochial, damaging, and fixed. To move any of these things by a few degrees takes initiative, fortitude, and courage. Also, I know we have some true warriors in our midst who continue to guide, provoke, and challenge the status quo, the ones to continue to fight for a way to make other futures possible, especially within the darkness of our current global moment. This is the kind of agitation that we need to commit to and continue to fight for. And while we have seen new interest in life burgeon within our partnership, and our Caribbean and diasporic environs continue to cross-pollinate and shrink as we find new ways to negotiate old habits and behaviors, we must hold ourselves accountable to do this work regardless of how, and I'll use a term that we have all come to know very well, petty and low things become. The work is bigger than our insecurities, selfishness, bigger than national agendas, and can be, if we continue to listen to the essence of our cultures and what they need, the very thing that provides the dire shift that we need to have happen for our sustainability and futures. The next 3 days are going to be bearing, vulnerable, taxing, tricky, and for many, I hope, the lighting of a renewed vigor to re-strategize how we approach our local industries and the ethics of the work that we do. I hope that it will also restore faith in our indelible spirit that sometimes gets crushed or hardened under our post-colonial realities and remediate the edges of our stubbornness and complacency. As our islands capitulate under the weight of another hurricane season, which starts tomorrow, we are in many ways trapped in a tenuous position and in a loop, which means that we have to figure out new ways to maneuver our freedoms. The open participation and buy-in by all of us will concretize advocacy and draw affinities in the least likely of places, and that to me is wild, aspirational, and inspiring. This morning I will end with the Proverbs, "Every mickle mek a muckle, and many hands make light work," and I look forward to filling our pool with rich and luminous ideas that will enlighten our spirits and actions in the coming days, months, and years. And that's from Holly. So, thank you so much.
Bien, la plataforma Curando Caribe es el resultado del esfuerzo conjunto del Centro Cultural de España en Santo Domingo y el Centro León para expandir una iniciativa que Juan Sánchez, director del Centro Cultural de España, trabajó previamente en otros países bajo los nombres Curando Latinoamérica y Curando Centroamérica, compuestos por conferencias y visionados de portafolios por parte de curadores iberoamericanos. Curando Caribe se expande con respecto a los proyectos anteriores al integrar un programa de formación de curadores ante la evidente necesidad del desarrollo de esta rama profesional en nuestro contexto inmediato. El programa se ha realizado en Santo Domingo, y al igual que en Santiago, tal como en esta ocasión. Hoy, luego de 2 ediciones de Curando Caribe, 25 egresados, trabajamos en diversos espacios institucionales e independientes del país. En esta tercera edición, Gracias a la alianza con la plataforma Tilting Access, nos acercamos a esa meta de curar el Caribe, de vernos y pensarnos desde un punto de vista regional, conectando con artistas, curadores y gestores del Caribe para visibilizar y resaltar la diversidad de la oferta cultural de nuestra región. Por eso estamos aquí todos juntos esta noche, estos 3 días. Y realmente, pues, creo que con esto damos inicio a muchas nuevas relaciones. Quiero aprovechar este momento para dar paso a nuestra keynote speaker, Rita Indiana Hernández, que se encuentra con nosotros.